those two chairs like that? And we'll have the flowers in there?
It's kind of dark.
Okay. Want to make it brighter? See, I wouldn't even know how to do that.
So 80 is asking what role and how much did technology play in your unschooling?
Okay, this is a great question. My mom says that none, like we didn't use a lot of technology at all. I completely disagree. I was doing all kinds of stuff on the computer when I was in middle school that she didn't even know about at the time.
To me it was your free time. You were, you know, I know I was probably always on your case about that's too much on MySpace or whatever, but if you were in school those years, you may not have had the opportunity to spend the hours learning what you taught yourself.
Right. One of my biggest things was I learned how to do HTML coding, just playing around with my MySpace homepage, something that Facebook won't let you do anymore. But there's plenty of websites where you can learn how to do coding. I taught that to myself because I was interested in making my homepage look nice. This is our brother Colin. He's 12 years old and he is he has much more access to technology than I did at his age. So we brought him on board to kind of
tutors. Like, intense tutoring siblings.
Right.
So we have firstborn and lastborn here.
Yeah, firstborn, lastborn,
number one, and
three
number
in between.
Yeah.
He's going to tell you some about what he does every day on the computer because his education is much more technology based than mine was.
Okay, so Colin, since you've been homeschooling, what role does technology play in your regular schoolwork that you do?
Most of the stuff I do online, most of the educational things that I do is on the computer. I like to use extramath.org because, I don't know, it's just fits.
So practice.
I do several different typing websites that I found easy for me. And I like to do something sometimes called Little Alchemy.
Oh yeah, that's good for science.
It's really fun. You combine elements to make more. It's called The Legend of Zelda. It's a unique fighting game. It is kind of difficult, but it also has a lot of unique puzzles all over the place, problem solving, and detective work.
Yeah.
Things like that.
You have to work together too.
My favorite app for the phone or website is Duolingo. It's a great app for learning languages. And I do German on it all the time. And Colin likes it too for his French.
I did it for French, yeah.
Yeah.
When you were in school, that was the website that Miss Andrews used.
Code Academy is really good for doing coding and learning web-based skills to build a website. Let's see, what other sites have I used?
So is like that for kids that are just particularly interested in computer programming, or that's not something most people
programming
would want, right?
Well, computer programming is one of the new hot skills right now that if you know how to do that, you can get a job anywhere. So they're starting to bring it into schools more, introduce it to kids more. They just introduced a new Ruby on Rails is a type of coding, and they just introduced a new doll called Ruby Rails is the name of this doll that you can buy for your little kids, and it starts teaching them the very, very basic coding because they want to get this into kids as soon as possible because technology is the future, and you're going to have to know how to use technology if you want to be successful. What I would want to say to parents is don't be scared of technology. It's just a tool. Don't be the parent that's constantly trying to get your kid off of it. Use it to your full advantage because there's a ton of resources out there that you can use. All you have to do is Google search it and you're going to find whatever subject you want. There's free courses everywhere. All the colleges now are putting free courses online so that you can actually get a certificate in your field of study online from a college. Even Harvard has done this. So it's not anything to be worried about if your kid's spending a lot of time on a screen. There's just ways to channel that so that it is educational.
Well, I would say I hope you are talking about older kids when you say let them have some unmonitored time.
Yes.
Like hours and hours at a time. And I probably should say that, you know, our kids, we were very, very restrictive, in my opinion. I will admit it now.
In my opinion as well.
I will admit it now, but we really tried to give you guys more of a, like a Waldorf experience where you weren't surrounded by plastic and toys and electronics. You had a backyard, you had a garden, you had a playhouse, you had lots of carpet, you had a dollhouse, you had blocks, things were put away, we pulled one thing out at a time, we took walks every day, we went to the parks, and, you know, we tried to have that kind of a child.
At the younger ages, definitely, I think
Yeah.
it needs to be more natural and out in the open. But as they get older, especially now, like back then, you had no idea that computers were going to be such a big part of everyone's life.
Right.
Nobody knew that in 92, 94.
Even though we were like the first one in the area to have a Macintosh
Right.
in the 80s, you know, and so you were probably one of the first preschoolers that actually could have been on the computer 24/7.
Yeah, I
But you
had
weren't.
games and
You had some, but you weren't. And we really watched how much TV. It was very, I mean, like we would show you Sesame Street at age 5, and I remember you saying, they're acting really foolish, you know. But we would show you guys Sesame Street just so you would know when you went to kindergarten, if you went to any classes or Sunday school, you would know who Ernie and Bert were.
yeah,
you know?
I think that's really important. A lot of parents miss out on that. Make sure your kids know who the popular characters are, because that's a huge part of being in school. Or make sure they know like who Harry Potter is and what SpongeBob is, because if they don't, they're gonna go to school and all their friends will be talking about it,
If
and
you
they're
go
gonna
to school,
they're
but
gonna
you're talking to
feel
homeschoolers, right?
they're gonna feel like such an outcast.
Right.
Yeah,
Buy
yeah,
them
you had some of that.
I had
That's
some of
right. Buy them Barney and Sesame Street so that they lead a better life.
Okay.
that. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm saying don't cut them off completely. It's so ingrained in our life now that they're gonna have to
They
know
won't
that
be.
stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't
They
live
won't.
in our culture.
You can't live in our culture
can't
and not be able to use a computer and type and
Yeah.
but you know, when I was older, the unstructured time that I had on the computer was very constructive. Even the
Oregon
games I was
Trail,
Oregon Trail.
where in the world is Carmen
Carmen
Sandiego? Yeah, you had some.
All of those kids' games are educational because they want to sell them to parents, not to
True.
kids.
Good point.
There's a lot on the computer. Even like Neopets was my favorite
yeah.
game as a kid. What she didn't realize is that Neopets has like a full working stock market within its own world. So I learned what a stock market was, and I had stock in these fake companies, and I had my own Neopets store where I was running a small business. Even though it was fake currency, the concepts were all there.
Mm-hmm.
We played Roller Coaster Tycoon, where you're running a roller coaster business and you have to keep the money coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Sims was great for that.
But it was limited in time.
Yeah.
Much more of your time was out building tree houses and orchestrating stuff in the neighborhood, and you know, in your academics, you certainly were doing, you know, book work, written work. You really didn't do a lot of academic stuff online. That was all your fun time that you were doing those things.
Okay, 8 or 9 years ago, my brother and his friend who lives down the street, who also homeschooled, were into skateboarding. So they made a YouTube video way back then using their computer, the technology from 8 years ago. So I'm going to post a clip of that because that's something that if they had been in school, there's no way they would have learned how to do that.
Yeah, and at that time, they would both get up early in their separate houses. We're about just
A block
about
away.
eight houses away or whatever. They'd both get up early, get their Saxon math done, get their ABEC or whatever, get their reading done and everything checked off. And by noon, they were on the phone. I'll meet you out in court. And all the other kids are still sitting in desks indoors, and they had the neighborhood to themselves pretty much. And they really spent a lot of time learning how to skateboard, and they had a lot of fun.
They were really good at
They
it.
got good, yeah. And then they started making little videos. I still don't know to this day how they managed to do it with
The technology we had
from
at the
8
time.
years ago, right?
Yeah.
Right.
We will leave links below in the description for certain various video games that would be the most suitable, as well as some that might not fit.
thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. Leave me more comments and questions on YouTube and on Facebook, and we'll be here to answer your questions.